Well, we'll be talking about GIS. Maybe we should talk a little bit about what GIS is about, right? So it's actually an abbreviation, geographical information system, right? And it's a tool pretty much for capturing and analyzing spatial and geographical data. So now, when we talk about spatial and geographical data, we talk about data sets that has location components. So the location component could be a little bit broad in its own sense. I mean, when data that has latitude and longitude. So I think that's actually one of the most easiest way I could actually define geospatial, geographical or geospatial data, right? And these data sets comprises of different geometry types, and then for we have the points, we have the line, and then we have the polygon, and then the multi-polygon, right? So when we talk about points, we talk about I think the so let's say Mr. A said is at point A. So when I'm trying to make that as regards to geographical, like talking about geospatial senses and everything, I'll be talking about my latitude and longitude, and then if it's just one coordinate, maybe we could also talk about points. And I'm trying to come up with the best example of when we say points. So a point data could be, should I say, a house could be a point data, right? And then we could also have in Google Maps, most of the features we see are represented by point data. Like, let's say you're moving from here to a ShopRite, like ShopRite, which is a shopping mall. That could also be a point. At least that's what the Google Map would actually present for us, and which is fine because it actually denotes the location, the latitude and longitude of that particular shopping mall. In this case, ShopRite. And then we have lines. So when we're trying to capture linearity, when I mean linearity, I mean a case where we're talking about rivers, we're talking about roads or lakes. One of the ways we could actually be able to collect or capture this data will be in form of lines. And but depending on the use cases, right? Because if you're looking at a lake, like let's say a bounded, like let's say a boundary of water that does not move, could that be a lake? Yeah, I think it's a lake. So we could actually present that as also as a polygon, like just to be able to say, okay, this area contains lake, whatever. So I think that's actually the beauty of GIS and geographical data, right? In different contexts, you could actually be able to use the data point that is most appropriate. And then we have the polygon, and polygon could actually be used for building if you're trying to get all the extent of buildings, right? And this is actually for polygon. And then multi-polygon, one of the geometry types that more than none you will never make use of. Um, so this one, so this, I was trying to get the best way to classify the multi-polygon. So it's, I think when you have like a very big shopping complex that has buildings opposite one another, right? And then it's it also has like a opening in the middle per se just for ventilation and the likes and everything, and then you have them facing side by side in it. So this case is one of the cases that I see some in some places in Nigeria, right? So those could actually be multi-polygon. But then the beauty about this is that I could also denote this as polygon. So if I really want to think about this, I think when you're talking about the geometry type, maybe your focus should be the point line and polygon, right? Because this is actually what you see, and you could always use interchangeably in some cases. In some cases, one of them have to be what you use. And to talk more about, to bring this a little bit into context, and I want to talk a little bit about like the COVID-19 tracker by Bing, and I'm gonna try to nope, nope, nope. I'm gonna try to copy this right now. Yep. Yeah, we have the Bing map, and then this project has been on since the beginning of COVID-19. At least as the world government started to take COVID-19 more seriously. So what we see right now is a a dashboard that talks about the COVID-19 situation in the world. So when we take a world view, you could see the different, you could see the map and its like and how dense it is, right? And then from this alone, you know that one of the continents, or the continent that is not really very much impacted by this COVID-19, is Africa, right? So, and then when you move a little bit further to places that you probably have interest in, let's say the North American, right? And then we'll talk about the US. So in the United States, we could get more information, right? So then we want to look at California now. California has 3.6 million. Was that 3.6 million cases? And then you have some different boundaries, and so now from what you could see, right, moving back a little bit, let me move back a little bit. So what you can see right now is a point. We're talking about a geometry type, right? So please stay with me here. And then when you go a little bit deeper, you realize that this point was being transformed to polygon in order to be able to like get the extent and the boundary at which this case is being predominant, right? And when you click on this, you get to see more information. Like for this particular area or county, there's over 3,000 fatality, which is really really terrible. And then so you could see how we could actually change from different geometry, right? So at first, from a broader scale, we want to see this as a point, but then this does not give us all the information that we want moving forward. So we decided to, or the the geodata specialists or the people that worked on this decided to like make it more. So let's see what extent at which this fatality or this county in a county level, and then you get more information about this. And this is actually one of those beauty about working with geospatial data and really understanding GIS to a reasonable level. And then if you want to look at Nigeria as well, you could see that totally 159,000 cases. That's a lot, but and yeah, just looking at this right now, someone could actually have better information about, okay, this is what's going on in the world, and this is what's happening in North America. This is how there's quite a number of cases in the United States, and then we look at the South America as well, and then we look at Europe. So, so yeah, this is actually one scenario, right? So now the next one we're going to look at, right, will be um, one of these interesting cases, which is Ebola. So from what we can see here, we could see a map that's increasing with time, like how the cases of Ebola, which happened between 2014 to December 2015, and how it actually terrorized the West Africa. So you could see how these cases is increasing, and then you could see some like the dots. The points actually represent the confirmed cases, and then it increases, and then eventually it reduced. There are some areas where it was so high, and then you could see that polygon again was used to represent the extent at which these cases this case is being found, so which talks about where as well. So with this, right, you could see how interesting having geospatial, like GIS information system, and working with geospatial as part of your tool set and understanding could actually be very, very useful to, anyone in its tech industry. Now, moving on to what we're gonna, like, the project we'll be working with, which is OSM, so OpenStreetMap. So OpenStreetMap, it's, we call it a project because it's actually a project. And the reason why, when you get deeper into OpenStreetMap, you consider it as a project and not necessarily as an organization or so, is because it's keep evolving, right? The number of data that OpenStreetMap as a very large database has been able to collect has increased since when it's been founded over 10 years. I think it's over 15 years now. I can't remember the specific date. So it keep improving. This is because of your effort, my effort, and the amazing people behind this project. And but then the amazing thing about OpenStreetMap is that it does not just make available geospatial data for people to make use of, but it comes with its own data structures, and just for it to create some sense of interoperability in its own system. So for you to be able to like put data into OpenStreetMap, you need to be able to adhere to some of OpenStreetMap database guidelines, and some of them which we'll be using for this mapathon include the buildings guidelines. And that is to say, so when you create a data, a geospatial data using one of the two or one or more tools I will be training you on today, um, those data needs to have a key, it needs to have value, and then this refers to tags in OpenStreetMap. And then so because of how much contribution and improvement that has been made on OpenStreetMap, putting these key buildings and the value, yes, it becomes more and more easier every time because people are actually working tirelessly to make this done very, very easy by everyone. And we're going to also show you the process, right? So for all the key and value that we'll be using for this mapathon will be building is equals to yes. So for those of you who are not familiar, you don't have to be scared that you probably have to map 100 buildings and then you have to be typing buildings equals to yes. No, the two, like the OpenStreetMap project has become way more easier that you just you don't have to always type this and it automatically help you do this. Um, yeah, so the other thing is the tasking manager. I'm gonna quickly show you the project we'll be working on. So this is it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think most of you should have been able to create their, their username, create an account on the tasking manager. So what's this tasking manager and why do you have to even create a username and an account in the first place? Well, GeoPushMap is quite a very, very renowned project, and a lot of people actually know about this project, and a lot of people are actually contributing to this project every day, not just every day, every minute, and maybe even every seconds you're having someone contributing to this project. But then it's successful and amazing, but then that's where the problem comes in, right? Because a lot of people are contributing to this, so we need to be able to understand how people are contributing. We need to be able to better manage people that are contributing to this project. We need to be able to make sure that when I map, somebody else don't come from out of the blue, so we map that same place at the same time, or maybe, yeah, at the same time, right? So that's where this task manager comes in, right? It helps us to be able to create that management. Take a task manager as a project manager, right? So he is the one, yeah, the task manager, he help us to be able to like know, okay, this task is what you should be doing, and then this is what you'll be doing for the next, let's say, 2 hours, because the task manager allows a user to be signed in a particular, to be logged in a particular task for not more than 2 hours. So after 2 hours, if you're still logged in, it automatically lock you the off the task. So the reason for this is sometimes you just log in and then you probably forget about it and maybe close your laptop. And then if this if these tools are not put in place, nobody might be able to like map that task ever, because no one could actually get you locked out from what you've logged in the first place. And which is actually the reason why whenever you talk about OpenStreetMap and then contributing to it, the next thing they'll probably bring you closer to will be the tasking manager. And and I find it that's a really great tool because I've been using it for quite some time now, a long time, I must say, probably 5 years now, I guess. And it's really been amazing and it's easy to use, and then you get to like, get to see how amazing it is. Okay, so that's that's for the tasking manager. So then I'm gonna log in right now because I need to log in to be able to like, and then my name is Smart D, and when I log in, automatically it asks for grant access, and when I do that, voila, it brings out my, oh wow, they still have this picture. That's been a long, long time. So this is it, and then so we read more about this. Now, what you do when you get here, you move to contribute, and then this is the beauty about this task manager, right? So you have an instruction, just like what a project manager would do, instruct let's say, the people who this project manager is managing on what they're supposed to do, so they should be, so that everyone will be on the same on the same page in order to be able to make sure the project is actually successful. The same thing with this tasking manager, which I regard as a project manager, maybe. It gives us information, and then I think the first thing it lets us know is that out of the many, I think 6 different imagery sources that is available in the tool that we'll be working with, which should use Maxo Premier imagery. Very important, Maxo Premier imagery. I can't overemphasize the importance of reading the instruction, because it's not just enough for you to contribute to the OpenStreetMap, but it's also enough for you to contribute the right way. And the easiest way to contribute rightly to open source project like this one is by reading carefully the instruction. Because, for instance, right, you refuse to look at the instruction and you decide to use Bing imagery instead of Maxo Premier imagery. So one of the issues we're having right now will be an issue where the Maxa imagery might be more recent than Bing imagery. So you might be mapping with a very old imagery. The other thing you also experience would be the offset issues, because this is a different imagery sources and providers, and the imagery is being captured at different times. So you're going to be having some offset issues. And when I talk about offset, it's probably some different, let's say, a variation in centimeters between the projections for each of the imageries, right? So which means buildings might not overlap the other, like the buildings might not get overlapped with each other, so which makes the people working on this project, we give the people working on the project more work. So yeah, you need to read the instructions. So for these tags, we are working with Mac Superior Imagery. And but then there's a rare situation when if you have a case where the imagery is not clear enough, like let's say there's a lot of clouds and stuff, you could use Bing, and if the imagery is not, and then yeah, if there's no good imagery available, then you should mark it as bad imagery. So these are the different these are the different areas. So now we have the general mapping nodes. It has it they want us to be as precise as possible. And then it said this takes a little bit of practice. Yeah, even mean I'm still trying to get better at this. And then it's okay to split if the task is too big. And also sometimes the task where is already mapped. Sometimes you will find a task where that looks totally mapped or has nothing in it. So basically, I think we've been able to see most important part of this, and which is great. And and now, so the next thing we probably want to do right now is the color coding, right? So we have the available for mapping, we have the ready for validation, and then we have more mapping needed, and then we have finished unavailable priority areas. You can see that this task has been mapped before, and we could see that there are some areas where they are still available for mapping. And so what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to click on one of these areas. We're going to pick this. And then when you click on this, you have the option to map selected. And oh, okay, so I don't have my JSON running right now, but I think I'll just leave that for the next part, the walkthrough process. So I'm going to go back to the slide now. Now we have JSON, also known as Java OpenStreetMap. Well, this software is a lifesaver. I think that's the best way I could characterize it. So I'm gonna launch my JSON right now. So it's a desktop editor for OSM. It's a GIS tool as well. It's it's it has capability to work as a GIS tool. I think I see it as a GIS tool because it could do editing of data very well. And with this with this tool, mapping and contributing to OpenStreetMap became more amazing. Like it became very easy, and probably because of the shortcuts, probably because it makes it very intuitive. Trying to drag drop and everything. And sometimes when you're having a very slow internet, you could just, preload most of these imageries and then, map it probably when you're actually traveling, you probably when you're somewhere without internet or at a restaurant, trying to contribute to OpenStreetMap as well. So these two, JSON or Java or OpenStreetMap OSM, it makes it makes OpenStreetMap more easier, and it also make life more easier contributing to OpenStreetMap as well. And then the JSON setup cheat sheet, which I think most of you have access to, and if you don't, I think this is the link to go to check it out. All right, so finally, I think just a little bit of motivation. So one of the beauty about the OpenStreetMap project is that the work we're doing currently trying to map off-grid areas is in the eyes of the public, these areas are not very well defined, and we're trying to use the data we're creating to be able to like help improve the geospatial information in Nigeria. And whenever you contribute to OpenStreetMap by making one or two edits, you're actually bringing into light the that remote settlement that you're actually building and that you're actually mapping. So just imagine if we could get to map more, we'll probably start understanding that okay, they actually a lot of settlements that are actually around us that we're not familiar with, and which in turn help for decision making, and which is one of the reasons why I'm so excited that we're getting a lot of hands as form of this mapathon to be able to support in this work and in this task and project to map Nigeria under the NESP project in order to be able to understand the electricity distribution a little bit better. I think that's all from my end. And do you have any questions so far? If there's none, I'd like to move it on to Omonuolua.